Listening to the Thom Hartmann Program.
Sam Cedar filling in for Thom Hartmann. I'm on loan from my daily program, The Majority Report, heard via the internet anyways at majority.fm or majorityreportradio.com. On the phone, I want to welcome to the program Melinda St. Louis. She is the International Campaigns Director for Public Citizens Global Trade Watch, to talk about, in particular, a couple of trade deals that have not been reported on very much in the news, and that is certainly by design. We're talking about the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and then another deal with the EU, which I don't even know the name of at this point. It's gotten so little coverage. Welcome to the program, Melinda.
Thank you for having me.
So, Melinda, I want to read for you a quote from Chile's former lead negotiator of the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and I want to get your reaction to it because I think this is very telling. He just resigned a couple of weeks ago, and he wrote in his resignation, "It's critical to reject the imposition of a model designed according to realities of high-income countries, which are very different from the other participating countries." Now, at that point, when I read something like that, I think he's going to say we're not going to have the opportunity to build our economy as the richest countries can. Chile maybe being a mid-level, if you will, in terms of their economy. But no, he goes on to say it will restrict our development options in health and education, in biological and cultural diversity, and in the design of public policies and the transformation of our economies. And he also says that this could create all sorts of civil unrest because a government would not be working to increase the prosperity and well-being of our countries. What is in the TPP that this guy is so concerned about?
Well, that's a very good question. The TPP is being touted as a trade agreement, and in fact, it is a deal that's being negotiated behind closed doors. It's in the third year of very strong negotiations. There have been 17 rounds of negotiations already, and there are only 5 of 29 chapters that we know of that actually have anything to do with traditional trade matters, such as tariffs on goods. The rest of it is actually a lot of chapters that touch on all of the things that the ex-chief negotiator for Chile mentioned. There's a chapter on intellectual property. Well, what does that mean? That refers to actually the price of medicine for developing countries and in developed countries like the United States. There are large pharmaceutical companies that are trying to write new rules on patents, how long they can have monopolies on new drugs, or even drugs that are already in existence. There are elements of copyright in this intellectual property chapter that what that actually will impact is the freedom to on the internet for users to be able to share information and to be able to use the internet in a way that people are becoming accustomed. There are rules that are being negotiated that would actually encourage offshoring of corporations to go to other jurisdictions and be able to sue for cash compensation if there are laws that they don't think allow them to get the profits that they're hoping to achieve. So, now,
Melinda, wait a second. I want to stop you there. And if you could, if you're on speakerphone, it would be great if you could just get off that for a second. But let me see if I can characterize that aspect, that a corporation can actually say, and we see a dynamic like this in the context of Canada right now. A corporation could say, we wanted to enter into your market, being another country. We had estimates and projections of profits at X. However, you have a labor regulation, or you have an environmental regulation, or you have a consumer safety regulation that inhibits our ability to maximize our profits. They can then sue that country for those profits, and correct me if I'm wrong here, that's adjudicated not by any type of court, but by a tribunal that consists of corporate trade lawyers basically on sabbatical from their corporate jobs, and they just rotate through. Do I have that right?
Unfortunately, you do have that right. And in fact, they're not even on sabbatical from their corporate jobs. One day they can actually be representing a corporation suing a government. The next day they can serve on a tribunal judging these types of cases. And this is through a very extreme provision in these trade agreements that's being replicated in the TPP that we have seen through leaked documents that gives extreme investor privileges. Now, these are privileges that foreign corporations have over domestic corporations. If you are if you're a U.S. business and there is an environmental measure that is put into place and it affects your profits, you can sue through our domestic court systems to see what is possible for you to obtain. If you're a foreign investor, you can bypass our courts and you can go directly to these extra national tribunals that, again, there are 3 corporate lawyers that decide these cases. And this is not hypothetical. Already there have been $3.5 billion in taxpayer money from countries that have had to pay corporations just under U.S. trade and investment treaties, and these are coming out of like the WTO, and NAFTA and GATT. Is that basic? Under NAFTA, under CAFTA, which is the Central America Free Trade Agreement, the U.S.-Peru Free Trade Agreement, and so forth. And what we're opening ourselves up to, if we include these extreme provisions in the TPP, is actually corporations from countries like Japan who are joining. And if we include this in this European Union Free Trade Agreement that you mentioned, we're actually opening up all the European corporations that are part of in the United States to be able to sue not just national level laws, but local laws, state laws. If you ban a toxic chemical, for example, you can be sued. If you put a regulation on mining, if there's been contamination of the water supply, you can have to pay taxpayer funds of compensation to the polluters in the case of these provisions. And we have seen leaked documents that say that this is in the TPP. They want to expand this to now 12 countries in the Pacific Rim.
Melinda, let me stop you here because we don't have too much time, and I want to just, I think people need to really understand this from a conceptual level. We have regulations, or other countries have regulations, laws, environmental regulations, consumer safety regulations, labor regulations, and these things, as anemic as sometimes they are, they're a reflection, at the very least, of our political process, right? I mean, some people push for these laws, corporations push back. These are all superseded by essentially a code that is developed by corporations that supersedes the sovereignty of any country that's involved here.
Absolutely. And in the TPP context, there are 600 cleared advisors who are helping to write these rules. Almost all of them are corporate lobbyists and representatives of the largest corporations. The public, even U.S. members of Congress, have been locked out. They have not been able to see this text. And yet, what we're seeing is that the rules are being written by the corporations, and it is really an end run around our democratic process to sneak in these types of extreme rules that they aren't able to get through our democratic process.
All right, folks need to go to citizen.org/trade. We have a link up on Tom Hartman's site. We'll put one up on majority.fm as well, because the big fight is about fast track, which means that essentially the Senate will just sign off on this, rubber stamp it. So we've got to fight the imposition of fast track in the Senate. Melinda St. Louis, thanks so much for your time today. Really scary stuff. People should check out your site for more information.
Thank you.